Good afternoon and welcome to Spotlight in Business. I'm Tammy Defoe, your host, president and founder of GTApreneurs. I'm happy to introduce to you today Jenny Rokhline. She is an immigration lawyer with Legally Canadian, and I'm happy to say she's going to be the guest speaker at our next in-person networking event, which is Thursday, October the 24th, at the Improved Canada building, which is in Vaughan, just one street north of Toronto. So really convenient for both Toronto residents and for York Region residents. So I'm so happy to be having you as our speaker the 24th. But right now, I want to give a little bit of background about you. So can you tell us more about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today. So, as Tammy mentioned, my name is Jenny Rokhline. I'm an immigration and refugee lawyer in Canada. I'm licensed with the Law Society of Ontario, but I am allowed to deal with all immigration inquiries related to every province in Canada. I have graduated Osgoode Hall Law School and opened my own immigration firm, Legally Canadian, in 2015. Since then, we grew, and there's now 4 lawyers at the firm. Outside of my profession, I'm also a mom of 3. I'm the first generation immigrant, so immigration is not just a profession for me. I've basically lived and experienced it when I did my own immigration. And I'm going to be frank, back then our immigration system was significantly less complicated than it is right now.
Oh, wow. And how so?
There's more requirements with respect to documents. There are more requirements with respect to translations. I'll just give you an example of my immigration process. We submitted a lot of documents that were not even in English or French. And somehow no one cared about this. Now, if a document is not translated, the whole application is going to get returned.
Okay. Okay. Right. Well, you said pros and cons of that sort of thing, right? From the, immigrants and from Canada's perspective, right? So,
Absolutely. I actually once had an individual who first sponsored his wife like 30 years ago or even more. And then something happened with that wife and he decided to sponsor a new one. So he came to us and he just brought the marriage certificate. He's like, so that's it? I'm like, no, there's like that many forms, that many documents, and it's going to take that long. And he was in such shock, saying that in the past, all I had to present is a marriage certificate. No one would test me whether or not this is a genuine marriage, whether this is an immigration marriage, are we compatible? Like all of those things were not happening back then, 30, 40 years ago. Right now, you have to write an essay about your spouse if you're planning to sponsor.
yeah. Well, it's just like how I grew up in Windsor, right, which is across from Detroit. So before 9/11, you can go over with just your driver's license, or even before that, your birth certificate, which doesn't even have a picture on it. And then after 9/11, they're like, no, you need to have your passport. Right.
Yes.
So sometimes they might let you with your driver's license and birth certificate. Before it could just be, again, your birth certificate with no picture on it. So yeah, everything's gotten a lot more strict these days. So
I don't just think it, but 9/11 definitely affected our immigration system. I was not practicing at that time, but I do know that the security checks are more detailed now, and sometimes that's the only check that takes the longest in the whole immigration process. I still get clients that were unfortunate enough to try and cross the border from the US to Canada while 9/11 was happening. So they were all, majority of them were detained, and that affected their immigration history. So we're still dealing with that, but you are right, like events do affect how Canada reacts to things happening around the world.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what's the situation right now with people coming from the Ukraine for immigration?
So the special program that we had, Quiet, has been closed in July 2013, July 15, 2013. So not right now there is no special program, but anyone who applied before July 2023 can still come. They're gonna get a 3 to 4 years status here and then ultimately decide what they want to do. The young applicants, they usually are very well positioned to do a regular immigration through skill if they work here and they just need to up their English sometimes, or just get 1 year of work experience in Canada. the older individuals or people with who are unable to ultimately do the skilled immigration usually go with an immigration program called humanitarian application. And then we basically explain to our government why these individuals should be approved for permanent residence on humanitarian compassionate grounds.
Okay. And so obviously part of it's because you're an immigrant, right? But what's another reason you decided to become an immigration lawyer?
No, it's a good question. I was thinking about this. I'm like, well, do I have an inspirational story? And I don't think I do. What really prompted me to become a lawyer first and then an immigration lawyer specifically. And then I was thinking back, and I remembered that back in the day, not going to tell you exactly when, but when I was a teenager, I was unfortunately wrongfully accused by a few adults of a wrongdoing. You can probably define this as a mischief now. And I remember how adults around me kept just screaming at me and that I was at fault, and I wasn't really. My parents were not there, and I felt very helpless. I was first pressured by those individuals to actually accept my fault, and something internally told me, like, Jenny, don't do it. It's probably not a good idea. And the pressure and overall, it was like the state of helplessness and like, please help me. Everything was resolved once my dad got involved, but I carry this memory about the helplessness and abuse by those who ultimately held more power over me at that time and had more authority over me because I was a child, I was a minor.
Yeah.
So I think this, in a way, in a very convoluted way, but did contribute to my desire to select a profession when I get to help people. And at the very least, to tell them that all those scary things that the immigration and the border officers tell them are usually not true. And that I can help them to navigate and to have someone in their corner while they're dealing with their immigration matters, whatever it is. And frankly, I think I have the best job for myself. Like, this is the best job for me. And I just love getting up every morning with a purpose, knowing that I get potentially help someone to improve their life.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I can't imagine I've never emigrated to another country in that. So I mean, I don't really know how much stress it can be. I guess especially for refugees, because it's not something that they plan. Like some people plan for years and years that they're going to do this, and some people at the last minute, right? So I think it's good that you do have that passion to help people, advocate for people, because people they come here, and if you don't write the right thing down or check the right box, or if you just accept something, then that could be it. But if you have someone like yourself advocating for the person, making sure their application is proper, right, and help walking them through the process, then I think it can make them more comfortable and have better success.
Yeah, it's success for sure, but also take the stress away. So because sometimes the phrasing on the documents are so confusing, and there's like an array of a common mistakes that we know people make just because they misinterpret. My favorite one, and I say it's favorite one because it's one of the most devastating mistakes, is when you fill out the form for whatever immigration program, it's visa or permanent residence, there is a question about past criminal convictions, but it also asks about previous criminal arrests and detention. And somehow the person who is reading it often interprets it, well, I wasn't convicted or wasn't charged, so I will say no. But the question says, were you also arrested or detained? And quite often, like, they were. Some people somehow interpreted like if it was a long time ago, they should say no. But the question doesn't ask you if it was 10 years back or anything. It asks you, have you ever? And when you say no, and you did have arrest, detention, or conviction, then you are going to be found to have misrepresented the information on the forms, and you're going to get barred from Canada for 5 years.
Yeah. Now, what if the person does have, sorry, that's one of my kitty cats here. Now, what if the person had been arrested or detained, and they do put yes, they weren't convicted. Now, is that going to prevent them from coming to Canada as well, or makes it harder?
It does definitely make it harder because Canada still screens immigrants, right? We want to make sure that individuals that are coming here are allowed to come here and they're not going to be danger to our society. So it will depend on the type of arrest, type of offense, and the type of a sentence. Sometimes you can just explain saying, like, in some countries, like an offense could be just an administrative offense, while in Canada it could be a criminal offense. So we'll have to actually figure out what kind of offense it was. If it wasn't something serious, so you can ask for rehabilitation. So you basically tell our governments, like, listen, yes, I did that stupid thing, but can you please allow me to come because that many years have passed and I have never had an offense after that. For some small offenses, 10 years after you finish whatever the punishment you have, you are presumed rehabilitated, assuming you haven't had any additional charges or convictions. But once you check mark that yes on the forms, you are expected to provide all the evidence, like police reports, court decisions, if there was anything. If there weren't, like, and once again, you ask me, right? I mean, that's why I'm there. I'm actually telling you, you know what, this offense is going to be a problem. Let's present an argument explaining that the officer should not pay too much attention to it.
Perfect. Yeah, great. We look at there's so many interesting things to learn about immigration. I know your presentation is going to be focusing on helping businesses that maybe
Yes.
need more workers, right? Because people, they're coming here, they need jobs, they know they have skills. And sometimes, we need workers that are maybe a little bit less skilled, but they want to work in some jobs that we have available, right? Like I know that a lot of Indian people that have all computer science degrees, right? And I mean, if we take in all these people that've got these university degrees and that, right, and we don't have anyone to do the other jobs, like help build houses, right, or work on restaurants or whatever, like we're really missing out on a big part of the workforce, right, that we need.
We do, and luckily, well, I will say luckily, I mean, unfortunately with COVID, everything has been backlogged, but our government is currently trying to address those shortages. So you are right, like, for example, for Ontario, if we look at the list of in-demand occupations for our province, general labor is on the list.
Yeah.
So we need individuals working at, manufacturing plants. Sometimes it would be like nurse orderlies, right? So not actually a nurse, but the person who does a more manual type of work. And this will be in demand in many other provinces where there's just not enough individuals. It's great. IT is great. I mean, IT is the future. But until IT comes up with a way how to replace some of the other work, we still need workers to fulfill these positions.
Exactly. Yeah, we need a balance. Yeah, you're right. I mean, IT is not going anywhere, but a lot of places. I watched this this documentary before on YouTube where they had like a restaurant owner. I think they had a construction company owner. Then they had they had a young person there too, and so they were both like, we can't get employees, right? Like they're offering like incentives just to come in for an interview, and he's like, he got for the restaurant, he got like, I don't know how many 100 resumes or something like that. So he offered 30 interviews. I think 3 people showed up. He hired one, the person didn't even show up for the first day of work. So
yeah, I think I've read it somewhere.
right,
Yes.
yeah, right. So it's so frustrating. I mean, one of the young fellow that was there, he said it was more about some people want to have a like a kind of like their own business or whatever, start their own business, but they're just being pickier. So there are tons of jobs out there. We need these workers. So if anyone out there is, from another country, you want to come to Canada and you want to work in one of these jobs, we definitely need you. So reach out to Jenny because she can help, take you here, right? And as well, anyone that, is already in Canada, but they want to apply for the permanent residency. So maybe they're a student. And some people just think, oh, it's easy. I finished school and I'm just going to apply and I'll be accepted. Well, it's not true. When I first came to the GTA, I stayed in an Airbnb for a month, and the lady who owned the house, her niece was staying with her. Her niece was from Turkey, and she was finishing up a university degree here, and she could not get approved. Like, I don't know what the deal was, but it was like around March 2018. And, So I don't know if she was just trying to do it on her own, because I think maybe her aunt was an immigrant at some point, and when he said it wasn't very difficult before, and she's having, struggles. So, definitely everyone out there, reach out to Jenny, even just for a conversation over the phone,
Yes,
to get some ideas and things like that, because you know what, it's always going to be a better result if you're going to have someone professional helping you.
absolutely. And we've probably all seen the stories in the news about how international students are being duped into believing in the Canadian dream. Well, I'm not sure I always agree with those articles, because we don't really have this way, oh, you come here, oh, please stay. Like, we don't. Like, we still have a system of selecting the most qualified candidates. Right now, the standard is very high. The selection process and the selection scores that are happening are extremely high. I was recently doing a calculation on it. So to be accepted right now as an immigrant into the federal program, you need to be at most 29 years old, with a PhD, with at least 3 years of work experience, with the highest level of English, and you have to be single. So how many individuals we have like that at 29 with a PhD and everything else? Very few. So if you are outside of Canada, like right now, it's hard to get. So you're looking at other ways, and that's why I'm there, right? I'm actually finding other ways. If you are in Canada and you have a Canadian degree, you also have a better chance, but still not great right now. So it will increase your score a little bit, but it will not right now make it easy for you to immigrate, to be selected. And that's why you're probably looking for either an employer or a province that is looking for individuals with your skill.
Okay. Wow. Well, you know what? I mean, with the jobs we have here, though, right? I mean, you don't really need a PhD. So, like, that seems like a.
You would think, right? But it's just that because this is the points. And so our federal system is a point based. So you collect points, and if you get enough points, you're getting selected. So
Right.
I calculated for the most, like, not the most recent, but a few ones before, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't have that client. Like, that not many people can actually meet that requirement.
Mhm.
But we need workers. So, like, yes, no PhDs, we need workers. And like a few years ago, one of the top positions that we were getting into the country under the immigration were cooks. We had a serious shortage of cooks about like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, look, reach out to Jenny there to find out, how you can immigrate to Canada, right? Or you have a loved one who's here, or your neighbor who's here, and they want to get their PR or citizenship and things like that. But also come out on Tuesday, October the 24th, from 4 till 7 p.m. at the Improved Canada building, to see Jenny in person and meet myself as well, to hear some great tips about having international, people coming over to work in your business, to help your business grow. Because of course, in order to grow your business, scale your business, you have to have workers, right? And I think a lot of the ones coming over here, they're really hard workers. They really want to be in Canada. So I think it's a good option for a lot of people. And before we go, Jenny, can you just give us one recent example of someone you've helped come to Canada, something was really, satisfying?
Yeah, so actually today is a good day for that. Not a few hours ago, we actually successfully argued for a refugee status for one of our clients. It's a family, and it was so good that the decision maker, it's done by a board member, made a positive decision right there, right in the room. So they didn't need to go and think about it. They listened to our client's story. They looked at the documents that we presented, looked at the documents available outside of our presentation, and they felt convinced that these individuals should be provided safe haven in our country. So it's a very good feeling in essence. Yes, it's a refugee. It's a different type of work that we do. But just knowing that right now, us and our clients specifically can sleep soundly and know that tomorrow is no one is gonna come and deport them back to their country where they're facing persecution. So today is a yay day for us at Legally Canadian. It was a very stressful, any hearing is a stressful one, but there's a lovely family that soon is going to be permanent residents of Canada.
Very nice. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Well, look, thanks so much for coming today, Jenny. I really appreciate your time, and
Thank you.
looking forward to seeing all of you on October the 24th. And you have a great rest of your day.